Hello, you welcome back once again and to our tutorials in SAS and R. Today we will be looking at something similar to what we've worked on last time, but this time is going to be how to import multiple Excel sheets. The last time we were successfully able to import multiple CSV files as well as Excel files, but this time it's going to be multiple Excel sheets in R as well as in SAS. So I will get started by making a few modifications to the code that we have before, and we are going to do it in two steps. So this is step one, which is the longer part or longer step, and then we have the step two here, which is pretty much the shorter step. So to do this, we have to first set our working directory as we did in the past, and we have to also give the file name a shorter name. Okay, this time around I'm giving it a DAT. So DAT will be the name, the placeholder right now. Anytime you see DAT in this okay, let me just call it DAT1. Anytime you see DAT1 here, you know it's referring to the same file, that file from which we'll be getting our data set. So here, let me just open the file for you guys to see. Here I have, okay, let me just run this to make it a lot clearer. So here I have this data set. Okay, now let's go back to the code. If we go back to the code here, we are not going to make any significant changes anyway. Yeah, a bit of changes here and there, and then we'll be good to go. But this time around we are importing sheets, so I'm going to leave this as it is, and maybe we're going to change the name of the macro we created here. Just leave it as it is, and then just change the name of the sheets now that we are sending into SAS. So now you remember when we did it the last time, we didn't mention any sheet here. Okay, so we are going to make a few changes here, and then we should be ready to go. So just to have a look at the file now. So I've done the same thing, copied the same data set to the different sheets. Okay, it's the same data set to the, so it should give us everything when imported successfully. It should give us about 100 observations. Okay, but here the only thing that I did here was just to add a check here to label them separately. The first one is 1,000 and starts with 1,000. The first cell there starts with 1,000, that is A2 starts with 1,000, and here A2 starts with 2,000, A4 4,000, and so on and so forth. A5. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing now. So I'm going to use that as a check to be sure that everything worked fine. So let's just get started. So let's get started. So what we'll be doing here is, like I said earlier, we are going to be making oh no, I don't need this. Okay, I don't need this. Okay, let me just, okay, now, so as I said earlier, we are going to be setting our working directory, which is this, and then we are going to be using the shorthand for the data we had before. And then the first step will be just to, let me just jump at that immediately. The first step is it's pretty much going to be the same thing. The only thing we need to add here, we need to add a line here which will tell us the sheet we will be importing. Okay, sheet equals, we had a double quote, we don't know what it is. Okay, let's just leave it like that. So now we're going to change a little bit this. Instead of here, instead of data Excel, we can just say sheet in. That is the sheet that we are sending in. Okay, so sheet in is going to be the name here, and here instead of just the number of sheet, we are just going to put this one sheet in. So it means that this is pretty much what we are going to be supplying, which is going to be variable. It's going to be changing from one sheet to another. So that is pretty much how we're going to leave it, and every other thing still remains except here. Remember we changed here to that one, so we're going to just copy this here and just change this one to that one. Okay, because that's the name of the data set. Remember, we're going to be using proc import, so we have this to represent the directory and this from here to here to represent the data set, and from here is the extension of the data, which is the file type it is that the data is stored in. Okay, so we are going to run this first step, and then we are going to, let me just push this one a little forward. Yeah, so we're going to run the proc import, and then we're going to add all the data together to create, to make a giant data set. So I'm going to leave the data as Excel that, and everything should be fine. So I'm going to leave this as all Excel, so I am not going to change anything. However, I'm going to be changing this. Remember what we did here? We are only changing the sheet. So here, you remember how I labeled them? Sheet 1. Okay, then I just come here. Okay, let me just copy this over. Okay, just copy this over, just copy it and then paste it here instead. Sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, and then sheet 5. So there might be cleaner ways to do this, or even easier ways to do this, but I'm just going to show you what worked for me and how I easily did it. Okay, so now everything is set for the data to go. I mean to run. Remember, we created a macro, and then we wrap a macro around this process. So we're going to be combining all the data set into a single data set as they come out from this process here. Okay, as they come out, we're going to be adding them together, like you adding bricks, one brick upon another. Okay, so now everything is set to go. So if everything works fine, I think we shouldn't have any error. So I'm just going to highlight this and run the first step here. So everything should now good. So we have the log. There are no errors. But here the good news is that we've been able to successfully import the first data set, which is 20, and then we have 15 observations. So let's go to the code again, and just rather than do it one after another, let's just highlight the remaining and just run. So if everything runs fine, we should have 100 observations at the end. So let me just save this. No, okay, okay, let me just leave it. Okay, now I should have my 100 observations. So this is pretty much this is the fifth sheet. This is the fourth sheet, and then let's go here. I think that's where we're interested in. Here, our data set, all Excel, has 100 observations and 15 variables, and we did not have any error here or warning, so everything works fine. So if you want to print, so let me just put it here, just highlight this and then print. I should be able to see my entire data set this way. Okay, so now because of the way it is here, I think I set it to print only 10 observations from the word. Now since the observations are not too many, they are 100, I'll just print it. I'll just print all the 100, so that we can see all the checks that we added. So the first check we added was a 1000, and we have seen that. The second check we added was 2000, so which means it's able to successfully import the second sheet. The third check we added was 300, the same thing, 400 and 500. So everything worked fine without any issues. Okay, so this was from the previous, so when we run this, we should be able to see how everything looks, okay, according to the how the data is arranged in the Excel sheet. So here is the rest of the variable information. So okay, so that's it. So the first step is, I told you, everything is still following from the last tutorial where we had a macro, and then you just need to change the sheet name and everything, so we are ready to go. So so let's go to the next step here. The next step here is a little different, but it's pretty much is much shorter. Let me know if you need more explanation in the comments, and then I will reach out to you. But this is pretty much what I did. I specify a library name, which is this, and I'm using this Excel engine, and I'm giving it the name of the file. So let's see what happens. So the second step is for me specify the library name, okay, which is the lib name, and then an Excel engine and the name of the file. So let's just run this. So it says that the library reference volume was successfully created, and this was the directory. So everything ran fine. So that is the name of the data set that we are interested in looking at, and that is what we got. So the next step is for us to now see how this data has been written. Okay, we now want to see how this data has been written by using the same pro contents here, but with a little tweak here, a little differently, because here we are going to call the name of the library where the data was stored. Here everything inside, all the sheets inside here will be stored in this library as data set. Okay, we need to call the name of the library, and then we need to see everything in the library. Okay, everything is all here, and here with this NODES we don't need too much output. Okay, we only needed let's do what we did the last time. What I needed, I don't need all this information here. All I needed was this, would be this. Okay, in this case, that's pretty much what I'm requesting, but that is not what it will give me, because it's going to be a little different from what we have here. But I just want one box, one table that gives me all the information that I need about my sheets. Okay, now I go here, I just need to run this pro content, and then everything ran fine. Yes, yeah, I'm presented with a table here that tells me that in this file or this folder, OLIM or library OLIM, I had 5 sheets, 1 2 3 4 5, and they are stored as data set. Okay, that is pretty much what I want to do. What I want to happen. So when we go back to our data set here, when where is it? Okay, Olympics. So when we open the data set here, I just want us to see something. So that is one thing that I actually want I would encourage you to do. Make sure your naming convention here is consistent. Okay, should be consistent. So what I meant to say is this: if you have sheet, you see sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, that is fine. But if you are dealing with data set of something else, maybe of a bug, like for instance, you are dealing with data set of what kind of bug? Okay, of a B. Okay, a B. So you can say here, you can say data underscore B, then you give specific information about it, data underscore B WK, which is week 1. Okay, so data underscore for all your sheets. If they are 100, make it that way. That makes it a lot easier for SAS to import. Okay, and that is what we have seen here in this case too, that it works very well, or it's very reasonable to have your data set follow the same to have your sheet follow the same naming convention. So the next step we are taking, we kind of utilize this opportunity that we have here to import everything. So now you'll be asking, what is the next step? So the next step is to have a data step. So now I'm going to say all that, all the data, all that 2, which is the step 2. And here I'm just going to indent it a little, and then I'm going to set. Okay, now remember that we have our folder here, which is the holim. So now I'm going to set holim. Okay, it's already there, and I'm going to say full stop here, and I'm going to give it the data, the sheet that I want. Okay, let me just say sheet 1. Okay, sheet 1. Okay, let me just read this, and then here I'm just going to print proc print just to make it easier in this case, and then I'm just going to run. Okay, so I'm going to print the data set in sheet 1, and I'm going to just execute the command. So now see, now let's go to the log. Everything worked fine. Okay, the data set is 20. So but I'm not interested in only that, but that's even one of the reasons is for me to import all the sheets at the same time as I did here. Okay, so to do that, we are going to use a wildcard here. So we are going to use a wildcard because all the data sets, all the sheets start with sorry, excuse me, all the sheet name starts with the sheet. I'm just going to remove this one and put a column. So that column means everything that starts with sheet. Okay, we import it. That makes sense because that is how we name our sheets. Okay, so everything, anything that start, all the data set that start with a sheet, I want them. So now when I run this code, okay, let me just, since I already had a print here, so use, let me just say, let me type it here, use a data step to import all sheets. Okay, yes, okay, now I have this. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is just to run this code because I don't have anything to change. I mean, I don't change anything here because the only thing I changed was just to remove that one and put this wildcard here, which means everything that has the name sheet, okay, that starts with a sheet, that starts with sheet. So let's just run this, and then now everything is fine. So I'm not looking at the result yet. Let me go to the log and just show you one thing here. So in the log it tells me, so the log tells me here that there are 5 sets of data set that were imported, 20 each with 20 observation of 15 variables, and these are the 5 the data name. Okay, we have these sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, sheet 5, and we have all we have 100 observation as well as 15 variables. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so that works fine for us, and we are good to go to the next step now. So I've shown you successfully how to import multiple Excel sheets, and you may be asking how many sheets is the limit. I've actually not tried anything beyond 20, I guess. Yeah, so you might decide to just try and stretch your imagination to see how much of that you can get done. Okay, so but the most important thing, if you have tons of sheets, is to label them consistently. Remember what I did here, and then use this other method here, which works fine and is easier and doesn't have too many you don't have to type too many lines of code to get a job done. you only need to tell them where the folder where the data are stored and the name of the data set. Okay, now we have the name, the data set are stored as inside this different sheet. So now, and we use the wildcard. The wildcard means everything. So it could be asterisk, especially in R. I guess in R is asterisk. So you need an asterisk to tell it that okay, everything that starts with a certain letter or word. So I'm going to start with the R part now. So hopefully you quite internalize what I just explained here. So if you have any question, just drop it in the comment section. Okay, the next step is we are going to be using the same data set, and then we have set this as my working directory. I just run this as my working directory. I have it as my working directory here. Excuse me. And then the next step is I'm going to use two, I guess these mainly, but anyway, I'm going to run these two packages. So everything ran fine. Sometime you have an issue that tells you that before you can make this work, you need to install some stuff, some formats or so, or some stuffs. You have like 4 or 5 packages extra, yeah, maybe the dependencies to install. So you need to just run this, just copy this code, put it here in the console, and just press enter or the return key, and then you should have them installed. So the next step is to set a vector or give the data a name. So this is all Olympics, and then we use this function import list to do the job. So when you come here and just run the function import list, you see a lot of things that it does. So it's pretty much an extensive function. So now you have set class. Let's set the kind of the class of data set. Is it a table or a data frame? The default is data frame, and which this is what we use to specify the sheet that we want to import. Okay, and a few other things here, but I'm just going to be limiting my discussion to a few of these functions. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so first we need to state the name expressly well. Here is a file. Okay, what is the file name or that contains the data? So this is what we have here. Okay, and it's an Excel file, and then which here we tell you which what's it called, which sheet. Okay, here you remember what we did here too. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we can start naming them from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think it should be fine. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Either way is fine, because there's additionally you can actually specify the name of the sheet itself, like we did here, where you have to just write sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, or just give their positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you are good to go. So let's just not talk too much. Let's come here and just run the command. Now we have our data set. Okay, when we view this, when we check the dimension of the data set, it's going to be 115. Okay, sorry, 16, and an additional row has been added, and that is interesting. If that is going to be useful if you want to use you want to add an extra column to your data set. For instance, if you have dates or year attached to your data to your sheet, then you can actually utilize that and create a new column or a new column or a new variable from that. So for that, for these, I'm not going to be using any of that. So now so here you can do this. You can just say no or false. I think true is true default. Let me see. The default is false, I guess, or true. can't remember. Okay, I think it's filter users. It's true. I guess so. So okay, here the default is one label. This okay. Anyway, yeah, it's false. Okay, so we are setting to true now. So anyway, we ran it and we got our data set. So we need to just view it, and to view that, you can just run this. Where is it? So view could not found view. Anyway, we don't need to argue too much. So it's still the same thing that I said. It cannot find was what I found here. Okay, it's a capital V. Okay. Anyway, that's fine. It's a capital V, and then we are able to import our data set. Okay, so we have these, and to view it, we need to that's pretty much the same thing. Let's just go back here. I think I made a mistake here. Not to have a capital V, and then let's run it. Here we have our data set. Let's do our check. So we have 1,000 for the first sheet. Second sheet we have 2,000. For the third sheet we have 3,000. See it here. For the fourth sheet you have 4,000. You have 4,000, and for the last one you have 5,000. Okay, everything works fine. So that is the number of sheets. And to what limit you may want to ask, or is it limited to only a few sheets? I have not tried that. I've tried that with only 18 sheets and it worked fine for me. So I guess you can also stretch your imagination by adding as many sheets as you can to see if it works. So this is just a one-liner to do that for you. The second step is pretty much the same thing, but this time rather than having to tell them the position or give them these numbers, I'm actually calling out the names of the sheet. So now I just click here. Everything is still pretty much the same, and I run this. So it's going to give this warning, but everything is still fine. 1,000, 2,000, and so on and so forth. So able to we are able to import data, multiple data set sheets or data from multiple sheets into SAS and R. So I want you to comment, and I want you to ask questions, and I want you to also make suggestions about how we can improve our videos, our tutorials. So I want to thank you. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.